Just when you think you've heard and read the last thing you want to know about notorious mobster James Whitey Bulger, along comes a book by a couple of local authors you can't put down. Hunting Whitey recounts Bulger's 16-year life on the lam with girlfriend Catherine Gregg, the clever idea devised by a female FBI agent that led to his capture in Santa Monica, his murder trial, his life in prison, and his vicious murder after spending less than a day at a notoriously violent prison. Authors Dave Wedge and Casey Sherman join me. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
I love this, and I could not believe the detail you two dug up, especially on the relationships. I mean, just starting with Teresa Stanley and Catherine Gregg and how that switch happened very early. He went on the lam, in early '95, and then took Teresa with him, and then she got cold feet. Picks up Catherine, and then that's it. That's an unbelievable
that's
story.
It. It's a weird gangster love story as well. And we were very lucky to have uncovered 70 letters that Whitey Bulger wrote in his own hand about his relationship with Catherine and about all those years on the run. So, for the first time, we're really getting inside Whitey's head in this book.
And hers too, because she took a fair amount of abuse over the years. I mean, he tried to choke her to death once. I mean, it's not like it was all roses there.
Yeah, I think one of the things we wanted to do with this book, Emily, as you said, there's been a lot written about Whitey Bulger, but a lot of those books and movies don't tell the end of the story.
No.
And what they also don't do is dispel this myth of Whitey Bulger. And Casey and I really wanted to drill down on that and get inside Whitey's head, show people the monster that he really was. And, he wasn't this benevolent, noble, valiant gangster.
I love the fact that you said he had a fascination with Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, that's a detail that's great. I mean, as a young kid, as a young man.
Yeah. His heroes weren't Babe Ruth or Ted Williams. It was Bonnie and Clyde. It was John Dillinger. Those are the people that he looked up to as a kid.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, all right, you guys spoke to Billy Bulger, and when I first read that fairly early on the book, I'm going, oh man, now we're going to get But he basically clammed up on you guys too. I mean, he let you into the house. He spoke to you, but he didn't give up a lot, did he? I mean, you were basically asking him if he communicated while Whitey was on the road, and he refused to answer that question before Congress.
Yeah, look, Emily, I'm sure you've tried to interview Billy over the years, and you probably have. He was evasive with us about that particular issue, about what he knew about his brother when he was on the run. He talked to us mostly about the circumstances surrounding his brother's murder in prison.
Yeah.
And also their childhood, which is new stuff. He told us a lot of stuff about how they grew up and why he thinks Whitey went one way and he went the other. But what we did find out is that the FBI agents that we spent a good amount of time with on this book themselves were very frustrated with Billy stonewalling them over the years. And some of them even wanted to charge him. You
got to tell the story about the female FBI agent, Noreen Geeson, was it?
Yeah.
Just incredible. She was the one who came up with the idea to do that PSA that focused on Catherine Gregg and where she might be and what she might look like. And you got to tell that great story, and don't leave out any details about the plastic surgeon, because if you don't add them in, I will.
Right. Well, Noreen Gleason is a hero in this story. And, for Hunting Whitey, we got unprecedented access to the FBI's investigation. And there was some stumbling out of the gates for sure. But here comes Noreen Gleason in the mid-2000s, and she takes over the Whitey Bulger investigation. She asks her boss, Warren Bamford, do you really want to find him? And Bamford says, yes, we do. So Noreen starts to bring in these heavy hitters from the outside, agents that were skilled at fugitive hunting from New York City and Cleveland, Ohio. And basically they had to go out and find and chase down Bigfoot. And with Noreen Gleason, she looked at it and said, look, we've been chasing Whitey Bulger for over a decade. And his face has been plastered all over television screens worldwide, and it's generated thousands of tips for elderly white men in baseball hats. Now, on a clear day on Boylston Street, we could probably point out 5 of those guys. And Noreen said, wait a minute, we're looking for the wrong person here. Let's look for the girlfriend, Catherine Gregg. And there was always a pretty lousy surveillance video, picture of her, and they didn't have any clear photographs of her. So the FBI agents began to look at, well, they said, Catherine's pretty vain. She's had, several plastic surgeries over time. Maybe there's a record of it. And they stumble across a plastic surgery office in Boston that had a treasure trove of up-close photographs of Catherine Gregg. And the great thing about that part of the story is the plastic surgeon's dad was a decorated FBI agent back in the 40s and 50s. So he was so psyched, actually, to be part of that manhunt. So they get these beautiful, clear images. Then, Noreen Gleason and Rich Tehan from the FBI, they decide to do something very innovative. Instead of sending those photographs to America's Most Wanted, they produced their own public service announcement. And what they wanted to do with that was they wanted to instill some fear in the public for Catherine's safety. So they really played that up, even though Whitey and Catherine at that point in their lives seemed to be getting along just fine. And they showed that PSA in markets all over the country where they thought Whitey might be hiding. The one market they couldn't afford to broadcast in was Los Angeles. But the great thing about it is because it was so innovative, Emily.
It was a big news story. Everybody picked it up. Everybody picked it up. Yeah. So
it's shown in Iceland, and that's where the tipster was, and it didn't last long from there.
Yeah, so the tipster, this Björn's daughter, used to live next door, or next building, Dave, and we all remember her because she was the one who ended up getting the $2 million, for leading them to her. But even the capture of him was, you had much more detail than I had seen, I mean, the whole ruse took a little while to set that up, Dave. I mean, that was several hours, but they didn't want and tell the story about they thought they saw it. They almost had him once in a movie theater. That was unbelievable. It was him watching a movie about himself.
So to your first point, as Casey said, we got a bunch of letters that have never been seen before written by Whitey himself, one of which he actually describes his own arrest. And it's really compelling stuff. He's in the elevator and he sets he wrote this for us.
He did.
Tells his own story about, I was in the elevator and it was too quiet and something was wrong. And, he talks about this standoff with the FBI trying to arrest him. And it's really a wild tale. I think people will like it. And the situation in San Diego, Whitey Bulger was actually at the premiere showing in San Diego of the movie The Departed, where Jack Nicholson plays him, a fictionalized version of him. And sitting behind him a few rows is a San Diego sheriff's deputy who happens to be from Massachusetts. And he recognized Whitey, and they saw, he waited for him outside the theater. They locked eyes. And Whitey, we believe, and this agent believes that we spoke with for the book, believes that he was made, and Whitey was able to give him the slip. But that's a really compelling piece of the book.
I mean, I could go on forever here, but I don't have time. You get into the trial, but I'm really curious why no one has been charged with the murder. That they know who did it. This guy, Freddie, what's his name, Gies? Yeah, I mean, they know who did it. They got the video of him going into the cell. Why hasn't he been charged?
Well, that's the mystery. And, the Federal Bureau of Prisons is like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. They don't answer to anybody. They're on their own timetable. Freddie Gies is in solitary confinement right now at Misery Mountain, the place where Whitey was killed. He's been corresponding to Dave and I with rubber-tipped pencils because they don't want to give him anything sharp, Emily, because they're afraid he'll jab himself or he'll try to kill a guard. But it's amazing that nobody has been charged with that murder just yet.
Yeah, that's outrageous. I mean, because basically the federal government killed Whitey Bulger, and nobody's lamenting his death, but that's not the way he should have died. It's not right.
Well, our understanding, Emily, is that that's part of the reason why this investigation has gone on for so long and there hasn't been charges. We're told by our sources that they are looking at that broader picture of
it's a setup.
Why he was put in that position to be killed in the first place.
Right. All right, Dave Wedge and Casey Sherman, I really enjoyed this book. And if people are looking for a good, fun summer read, this is it. Hunting Whitey, the inside story of the capture and killing of America's most wanted crime boss.